Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the World Football Summit podcast. I'm your host, Jaime, CMO at World Football Summit. Today, we welcome Paul Dreisbach, founder of Petrichor and speaker of World Football Summit Africa, to the show. Petrichor develops youth football programs in Cameroon, and in partnership with LaLiga, it operates the largest girls' youth league in the country. Paul is an advocate of sport for social change, and hopefully his story will inspire you to become one yourself. During the conversation, we discuss the origins and the why behind Petrichor, what they have learned from their partnership with LaLiga, his thoughts on how the women's game should evolve in the future. And finally, we have a thoughtful conversation on leadership and entrepreneurship. Again, I hope you enjoy the interview as much as I did and help you realize that anybody can use sport to make the world a better place. Finally, remember, World Football Summit Europe is on September 20th and 21st. Will you be there? We have a wide selection of tickets available for those of you who want to help shape the future of football. Head over to www.worldfootballsummit.com. Again, that's www.worldfootballsummit.com and buy your ticket right now. And with that, enjoy this conversation with Paul Dreisbach. Well, Paul, thank you for joining us in the World Football Summit podcast. Been looking forward to this since your participation in World Football Summit Africa, and I'm happy to see we finally made it happen. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Yeah, really happy to be here and chat about this stuff. It's a privilege, and yeah, honored to be in this space with you and all the other leaders here.
I think we're going to have a very fun conversation. But before we do, can you briefly introduce yourself to the audience? And I guess I'm curious, why is it that you do what you do?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Paul Dreisbach. I'm the co-founder of Petrichor Football Association, an organization in Cameroon that works with primarily girls and women's development, but a lot of capacity building stuff too, and I'm sure we'll get into that. I also do some other consulting in the football world. So yeah, mainly just kind of an advocate for using sport for social change. As far as the why, I think that's a deeper story, but for me, it starts, I'll just give like the starting point of, as a kid growing up in a different country in Southeast Asia. I remember when I was 4 or 5 years old, or like one of my first memories, I dropped a football on the road and instantly made friends with everyone around, and no one cared, what you looked like, what language you spoke, where you came from, nothing. You were just playing, and there was a connection there. So I've always, carried that moment with me, seeing what can happen through the power of sport. And I always knew it would be a part of my life, and now here I am, using it in a really fun way.
I can totally relate to that. When I was a kid, I also moved abroad. Didn't speak the language, but we did speak the common language of football, and that connects anyone.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, Petrichor is a term that refers to hope and growth. If that is the case, why does the world need Petrichor? Why does the world need hope and growth?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks for asking. It's a very unique name. And the term actually is interesting because it's the concept of when moisture or rain or water hits dry earth after a drought or a very long dry spell. So it's a very unique concept, and the goal was to build on the idea of what we do is not anything new necessarily. Like the dirt, the seeds, whatever in the ground is already there. The talent is there. The passion is there. We see ourselves as just kind of the catalyst, the innovation, bring in the tools that are needed to make what's already there the best it can be. So we're not, claiming that we have all the answers, have everything needed. We just want to come alongside and add what's needed to make what's there the best it can be, like I said. So, much like, after a drought, rain hits the earth and grass starts growing. It's like we're hoping that what we do helps take this industry and this space to the next level in a way that's new and different. Just the systems, as we know, a lot of this isn't working. And so we wanted to bring something new that's just different.
What I liked about your project, and you said at the beginning that you're an advocate of sport for social change, but you're not a traditional NGO. You're actually a social business. Why did you decide to do that? Build Petrichor as a social business rather than an NGO? What are the advantages of that?
Yeah. I love these questions. This is really kind of getting to the core of who we are and why we do a lot of this. I would say, first off, my co-founder Jordan and I have both, been experienced in a lot of different NGOs, nonprofits, you name it, all kinds of international projects, and seeing the good and bad with both of them, because, each of these groups have good things to them as well. But, seeing what the long-term ramifications of, some charities are, in regards to sustainability, whether that's economic or environmental, whatever it is, seeing what those actually result in on the ground over a span of time, we realized we didn't want to start a charity because we knew we wouldn't be here forever. Our goal isn't to be in Cameroon the rest of our lives. Jordan and I, we were asked to start this organization, help provide some structure, because, like I said, it's in our name. The talent already exists there. The intelligence, the passion already exists. We're just helping kind of get to that next level. And our goal is to then, be replaced as soon as we can by local leaders. So starting a kind of a charity that's driven by donors, funds, grants, that type of revenue stream, for us just wasn't economically sustainable, because we wanted this to last much beyond us. So really bring in different unique models of economic sustainability in Cameroon and working with small clubs. And how do you make this work? What are the challenges? Is this even possible? It looks different for everyone. So we wanted to create something different, like I said, and we've realized that what we've seen in this space so far hasn't worked in a lot of ways in some places, and just in the end, we've realized that it hurts the kids, it hurts the communities where these kids come from. The goal with us is we gave it our best every day, and we're stepping into that space of the unknown a bit that is a unique space, and, one day at a time, one step at a time, and creating something that can hopefully last well beyond us.
Time will tell, and that would be an amazing legacy, But let's talk about the impact that you've had so far. Can you give us some numbers?
We've worked with about 30 members and academies so far. So we might get into how our model works a little bit later, but each of those academies has anywhere from, 75 kids up to 200 kids in each one. So over the last 6 years, we've worked with, 4,000 or 5,000 kids on the safe side. Up to this point directly, and then much more beyond that indirectly within the communities we work with one-off projects and things like that. We currently have about 1,500 kids we work with weekly, monthly basis, kind of, day-to-day operations. But over the past, much larger numbers of kids we've been able to connect through football, which is amazing.
It is, and it's a beautiful initiative. Congratulations for that. Again, we don't know how long it will last, but definitely the impact you've had created so far is just something that's worth admiring. But I'm pretty sure it hasn't been easy, despite how beautiful it is. What are some of the major barriers you've had to overcome?
Yeah. Wow. Where do I start? I would say just pulling apart what's not working, like if you're just going to start from the basics, when you step into this space, we were asked by some friends in Cameroon to help develop some of the pathways, some of the education, some structure on football development. And to do that, to get started, we had to realize and start with like what exists already, what doesn't exist, what's working, what's not working, why is it not working, before we introduce something else into the whole network, right? So really taking a step back and seeing the current models not working well, especially in a way that creates barriers for kids to enter the game. The concept of access and opportunity based on finances, demographics, race, religion, gender, all that stuff. So really kind of getting down to the details of why are things not working, where do they break down the most, and what are some of the reasons for that. So it's a big question, but I think some of the main difficulties are, how do we work within a system that's against us in a bit, that's broken, while still maintaining hope in that system that can change someday? Because sometimes it's kind of hopeless, when you work with, different groups or established federations or associations that have been there forever. And it's like, look, guys, this isn't working. Let's work together to make this better. But it gets into some different political issues, I guess we could say, that just make it difficult to move forward as a whole, So really trying to bring the whole sector together in a way that makes sense for everyone is a big challenge. But in the end, we've realized that it's mainly the kids that suffer by our decisions and the decisions of who's building the strategy and the structure for what's moving forward, because they're the ones that either have access to or aren't able to access the programs we're building. So as we make these decisions and try to navigate this space, we try to keep the kids in mind first and foremost. Like, will this break down barriers? Will this make it harder? Will this make it easier? How will this impact the end recipient of who we're actually working with and doing this for?
At the end of the day, it kind of reminds me of the Stockdale paradox that Jim Collins shares in Good to Great, in which you have to be a realistic optimist. So you have to understand what you're playing against, but always trying to think that things will turn out okay. No? Yeah, for sure. Exactly. What I did find most interesting about the project is that you actually identified a gap between the elite level of, women's football and the grassroots level. Are you helping solve this?
Yeah, so I think that this gap can look a little bit different to different groups, as everyone's at a little bit different spot on their journey. And when I started thinking about this more, and the other leaders within Petrichor in this space, was recently for us, actually, because we hit a point in our organization where we needed access to that next level, or mentorship, or help navigating what this next step is as an organization. One, just organizational structure and the legal side to what we do, but also for the kids and their pathways, whether that's elite players or whether it's a vocational track. So we were at a point where we assumed, maybe naively, that there was already an organization or a network or support through this next level to get to, pro club access or trials or collaborations or investment capital group, roundtables, stuff like that, which we're involved in a lot of different conversations in this space. But we've realized that from that grassroots level to that top level, there's a huge gap. And there's not a very clear or clean or organized way to navigate that. And again, some people don't want to. Like it might not be part of someone's model to even close that gap. They might just want to be at that grassroots level, do the community impact, create kind of fun rec level stuff, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. I just know where we were at. We needed help kind of navigating that next space.
That connection of linking the grassroots with the elite level, I think it makes more visible the concept of heroes, meaning you do see someone who ranked from the, who went from the grassroots levels all the way to the top under one single program, no? And that concept of quote unquote heroes is something you spoke about at World Football Summit in Africa and Durban. So I was wondering, why do you think it's, important to have heroes in the game? And maybe there's an example or that you want to share, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, it's a really good concept. And I think it ties in with role models, mentors, that whole concept of having people that are a bit ahead of you on the journey that can help you navigate the space in your own path. For us, it was, identifying who that is in that space and the kids that we work with and the communities we work with, who are role models for them, because they might be different than who it is for me. And I can't assume it's going to be the same person. And often it's not, because everyone has a bit of their own pathway and their own dream and where they want to go. But we knew it was important, as you were aware, I'm sure, different coaches or mentors or an uncle or father, mother, what have you, different people in your life that have helped unlock kind of that next level of, okay, I want to be like that. And how can I do that? And it's good to see people ahead of you on the journey to have something to aim for. And we've realized that these kids need that too. And that was a big part that was missing. There weren't a lot of great success stories that were accessible. Again, there's that word, like, there's definitely national team level, there's all the top players in European leagues and all that, which is great. But that seems so far away from a kid that's in a community in Yaoundé, Cameroon, right? So again, closing that gap a bit and creating a role model that's a bit reachable for them. Like, okay, there's someone that's playing in Division 1 in Cameroon. Yes, I still have a ways to go to get there, but I can actually see that person. And I know that they kind of live in a similar way, like they're a bit more approachable. So we've really worked on creating systems where role models are created. So through this process, we try to host this event in each community right before the youth game starts. So these kids, they come, they have a good time, they play, it's great. And then they get to watch their older brothers and sisters play right after that. Okay. So kind of subconsciously you're creating, I'm going to watch my role model play because I want to play there someday, right? So it shows them like, okay, I'm going to join the league in 2 years so that I can be that person. We've kind of developed a few programs, and that's one example of one, it actually helps teach the community and the coaches on recruitment. What does that look like? How do you recruit future players and future leaders in a way that like you're not even really focusing on? It's just happening naturally. So you're teaching on recruitment, you're teaching on fun, and you're building role models through the whole process, which then kind of moves up to the system. So that's one example of how we decided to experiment with how do you build role models that don't exist in a way that also hits these other, concepts we were trying to teach.
And it's about making it, I guess, relatable. No, that's a key word in sports, I would say. The more relatable, the more engaged, or the more attracted you're going to be to whatever initiative, really. At the end of the day, it just doesn't have to be sport for social change, no? What many folks out there might not know who are listening to this is that you actually work with LaLiga in a program called La Ligue d'Égalité. And you've done this for, I think, over a year already, right?
Yeah, it's been kind of a year and a few months now officially, yeah.
So can you, help folks understand what that is about, and maybe just take it a step further? What have you learned from working with LaLiga?
Yeah, no, it's been a great journey so far. I would say we've already been working in Cameroon for a few years at this point, and saw that LaLiga obviously had a presence there through their business development network and some of their regional, business development hubs network. Yeah, and we had an internal girls league that we were experimenting with ourselves, just because we knew this was important. We actually require our members to build girls teams. So there was a lot of girls starting to play, which was great. And we were starting to put together kind of a loose pilot league. Like, what would this look like to have a girls league? And approached LaLiga about it. Like, hey, do you want to get involved in this? We're starting this, we're experimenting a bit. So we went ahead with the league, and then, we started another one kind of a year and a half later or something. And that was just the right time. LaLiga came in, we had the conversation, and it was just the right moment to experiment with something together on a bigger scale. And so, made it official. We ran the pilot league, La Ligue d'Égalité, in February 2022. Mm-hmm. And that one was about 4 or 5 months, that pilot league. We had 180 girls, about 30 women coaches educated, and just had the best time. Like, seeing these girls play and the focus being on just them, has never happened before. This does not exist, a youth league like this for youth girls. So it was really cool to be part of something as a first ever project, and to do it with a great partner like LaLiga was incredible. Now we're halfway through our second edition of this project. So it grew probably way too big, too fast. It's been amazing, and the team has done an incredible job to follow through and make this happen. Our team in Cameroon and our partners at LaLiga, but the impact is amazing. So this second edition, there are now 300 girls, and we added the Mini Stars program, like we mentioned earlier, and that's about anywhere from 250 to 300 girls that show up in the community for that. That's that really young group. And then this coaching session we had this time, which LaLiga actually came down to Cameroon to run the coaches session. This time we had about 40, 45 in the session. So the female coaching education side is, again, it's one of those things where we're kind of subconsciously teaching and bringing in role models. But also, these girls need to see people that look like them, that live like them, that are in the same environment, to have people to look up to. And we've had a really good group of women come through, and hopefully these women will take it to the future as far as what does this look like in Cameroon.
It's an amazing project. When I read about it, I was just, I was thinking kind of the same, like, wow, this must be so fun to see the impact you're creating. And what's it like to work with LaLiga?
Yeah, LaLiga has been amazing. We've worked with a few different bigger groups at different points and different lengths of projects, but as many people probably know, bigger organizations, bigger groups, things just move a lot slower. There's a lot more compliance, all this stuff, right? So, which is great, and that's an important thing. With LaLiga, yes, that exists, right? It's a big organization. But what I've been so impressed with was, when people ask, okay, what is it like working with LaLiga or a big partner like that? And often, some of these other partners, they might say they care about something, but in the end, it's like, it wasn't really that much of a priority. It might have been part of it, but, it was kind of more for talk. So far, LaLiga cares, they're actually in this for the right reasons. And honestly, from the beginning, I wasn't sure. Like, I was like, this is a big brand. You never know. Everyone so far has had the exact same values, vision, the alignment. I think that's why this works. Obviously, LaLiga is great, right? But if they didn't have the same alignment and the reason why they're doing this, it's not worth it for us. I don't care how big of a brand you are. If you're not in this for the right reason, it doesn't work. And so working with LaLiga has really helped us understand the value of that even deeper. But we've also learned a lot from them. I mean, we've learned so much on just the professionalism side of how to build a project that can scale, like this has the potential to be a really big project someday. And there's been demand in many places to run this league. So working with someone that understands what does it take to build something that lasts a long time and the importance of going slow and doing things very carefully. So that's been great. I would say the other main aspect is they're really helping us with our impact measurement. And that's been something that we've been either too busy to or not educated enough around to really do a great job at. I mean, just one of our mistakes, which is really getting the numbers down in a really accurate way, or as accurately as we can. And then beyond that, how do you put that into a report or a pitch or a sponsorship presentation? Like that's a complex issue. And they've been so patient and great with us, helping us kind of get to that next level of how can we measure the impact better, because that helps us create better programs, right? So they've been great on that side. And not to mention just great friends. I mean, I was just in Madrid with them and hanging out with some of our colleagues there. It was good to take a step back and just have a moment to realize, like, wait, we haven't even really talked about football or La Liga. We're just talking about life and family and dreams. And like, we've just become great friends through this. And so to find people like that is just a really special thing. And I think it's kind of rare, to be honest. And we're very grateful and appreciate each moment. So,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. That you guys are. I was thinking about it in 3 pillars, no? So you have your social impact, you have your commitment, but then you're also looking to professionalize as much as possible, because that, at the end of the day, is going to help you reach new levels of impact. So that's fantastic, and hopefully, this will last ages, no? Let's say.
Yeah, that's the goal.
But if founding Petrichor or creating a league with LaLiga was not enough, you have also started to collaborate with Goals for Girls. So can you explain to us what that is about?
Yeah, for sure. So Goals for Girls is a group that using football for social change, specifically for girls around the world to address issues that they face in their context. So they have a really great program in India, South Africa. They've done a few in the States. And yeah, it's been an honor to come alongside and help with some of the strategy with their organization, but also learn ourselves, right? And something that we had, again, learning how to do better is providing programs for the girls we work with. They go beyond the field. So these girls have a rough life. It's not an easy place. And there's a lot of issues they deal with on a day-to-day basis. And we realized that, I'm a white American guy, middle-aged guy, right? It's like, I'm not the right person to communicate these types of things that the girls go through. Like, it's just not appropriate, and it's just not my place. So what we try to do is focus on our strengths and bring in the people that this is what they do. This is their profession. So we knew Goals for Girls and some of our research did a great job, and they were who we needed to bring in to fill this kind of spot with adding the next level of education for these girls in Cameroon. And to see them kind of create that bond is something really special and important to me, to see that through what we've built, these girls can then have relationships with women and role models in their communities that goes, much beyond the field into daily life and the things that they deal with. So the Goals for Girls, one is it's a great addition to our program that helps take our impact deeper. And two, it's really part of our kind of ethos and who we are, as far as we want to be honest with ourselves of where are our boundaries as leaders. What does that look like? Stick with your strengths as much as you can, and then find who does the other thing really well and bring them in, figure out a way to make it happen. Because that's what these kids deserve. They deserve the best. And if we tried to do it ourselves, one, it's not appropriate. And two, we probably wouldn't do a great job.
Mm-hmm. It's another beautiful initiative for sure. And it kind of reminds me of a quote or a concept that I discussed with Ariana Cristione from Next Sports. She's the head of football at Next Sports, of women's football and at Next Sports. And she said that 2022 was the year of visibility and 2023 has to be the year of accessibility, which is something that you've also alluded to before in the conversation. And I wanted to understand from you, because you're an expert at the end of the day in providing access to girls to play football. Are you optimistic that will happen? And if so, how can we raise a greater level of interest, in that regard?
Yeah, it's a great point and a great question. Ariana's amazing too, someone I look up to myself. So hi, Ariana, if you're listening to this. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, I was thinking about that since I heard that podcast, and then when you asked me it, it's definitely, a huge barrier right now, access to the game, and that looks, again, it looks different depending on where you're at, what part of the journey you're on, and who you are in the organization. So it looks a little bit different to people, but I like that being a theme right now. And I think that's absolutely true. For me, yes, I'm optimistic. Things are moving so fast that I think we as an organization and people within our network, we're trying to, again, be very careful and thoughtful with each step we take. And for me, it's about creating the strategy behind it. So yes, access, absolutely important, 100%. I would rather go a little bit slower and build a strategy around what does that mean, so that access in the future opens up in a much more long-term way. Yes, because we can just make a bunch of things happen right away, right now, open up clubs, teams, leagues, conferences, whatever, right? Like we can provide a lot of access real quick. And some of those things do have strategy with it. But overall, I would say this year for me is, how do we build the strategy around access? Because again, it needs to last much more than my time in this space. And if we're not responsible with what we know and what we can do right now, for those coming after us, we're not really interested. Like yes, we need access right now, but I would much rather build something that had, a longer term strategy built around it, just so that more kids can enter the game in a better way.
That becomes more sustainable, no? And in that regard, imagine we get those new levels of investment. Where do you think those resources should be invested to ensure that the ecosystem as a whole grows and maintains itself sustainable over the long term?
Yeah. I'm a little bit biased, I think, with where I think investment should go, but the investment that I see so far, and I'm by no means a expert in this space, but from what I've seen in my role at what I do, there's so much investment going into the top part of the game, which is great, and it's long overdue. It's amazing, so it's great to see it. But I have yet to see investment come into a club with a holistic view of the future as well, as far as what does it look like in 10 years? Where are players going to be developed? What is the culture around that development? How does it work? Because that goes into the commercial agreement itself of that's hard to build revenue around, right? And sponsors and investors want to see revenue in return. So how do you get innovative and creative with showing investors, look, it's worth investing in the bottom part of the game as well and filling this gap so that the whole ecosystem works better together in 5 years or in 10 years or 20 years. Because we've seen what happens with, top-down investment not done right, and how leagues and organizations can fall apart, right? So from what I see is, yes, Us clubs need investment. Obviously not as much. We can do a lot with a little bit, but I would like to see more investment come in throughout the whole ecosystem with that strategy in place. Like we've mentioned a few times, like clubs that understand this is growing so fast, we're going to need players at this level, this level, this level for all these different layers. And where are they going to come from, and how are we building that so we're the best team in the world? Or like I know everyone probably wants to be the best team in the world, but even different sponsors coming into Liga F in Spain, like I'm not privy to all the details, but I would hope that they're not only coming in at the top, but they're really looking through the whole ecosystem of how are we as a sponsor going to be tied to a league that will be the best in the world in 5 years, no questions asked. You have to find the sponsors and the investors that see it the same way you do and are in it for the right reasons. And I think it is happening in some cases here and there, but overall, I would say the investment really needs to have a more holistic approach to the complete ecosystem, as opposed to just maybe the top of the game.
Definitely. That was a great answer, so thank you for that. I cannot really add much more to that. And alignment is a key concept. You have to be aligned on the purpose, on the mission, the commitment, and everything that we discussed. So, Paul, we have a few minutes left, and I want to get to know you more as a leader. Because to me, you're a change maker at the end of the day. Because you're creating a lot of positive impact in society through sport, and that's just I personally admire folks like yourself making those efforts. But I want to understand, what does it take to be a change maker?
Yeah, I would say, for me, it's really identifying, at the core, what makes you tick, what makes you want to get up in the morning, why do you want to do it? And then how are you going to do it? And there are definitely a lot of issues and problems going on in the world, but there's also a lot of amazing initiatives and incredible stories happening, right? So, where do you want to get involved? How do you want to either address the problems or be a part of it? But do it in a way that, you can actually do in a long-term way. Because if you're not passionate about it, you don't have that deeper drive, you can only go so far. Something people might not know as well about me is I race mountain bikes. So I've raced professional mountain bikes for whatever, like 10 years or so. And it's a very mental game, right? It's clearly, physically demanding, but a lot of it is you're out on your own in single track trails way out in the middle of nowhere. And it's it can be very mentally and emotionally draining if you don't have that encouragement or drive to keep going. So there's a concept of like elite athlete mentality that I'm always trying to read about and learn about. How do the top level athletes push through these barriers? And for me, I've learned a few of these lessons from these people of, when things get hard, because changing things is hard, right? It's just, that's what it is. Changing things is hard. And especially if you're trying to do it in a way that lasts and really changes a sector and an industry. So the concepts I've taken from some of the mountain biking is when things are difficult and you want to give up, because that happens, honestly, it's a couple of weeks ago, I was like, what am I going to do? So I'm by no means perfect in this space. But the concept of when things get hard, it's been hard for everyone else at the same point too. And I know the 3 guys behind me and the 3 guys ahead of me are going through the same pain, but that mental strength of I'm going to give it 1% more or 2% more because this is the moment I can get ahead and I'm going to win, So it's that concept of that deeper drive around the vision and what you want to do that really creates, I think, breakthroughs. Like that's what makes things start to change in an innovative way, because it takes people that are willing to go through that and practice that mental and emotional kind of fortitude to get to that next level.
Yeah, I guess what I'm thinking about is that sometimes you can't control all the outcomes.
No.
Because, the context changes. One day, whether you're riding your bike or you're trying to run your business, there's so many elements that could just impact your result. But what you can control is your intention.
Yeah.
And that's something that, hey, it's on you, right? So, but it's one thing to actually be able to control your own intentions. But at the end of the day, you're leading a team as well. And to execute whatever mission you're pursuing, you need to engage them and lead them through good times and through bad times. So how do you keep motivation high among the members of your team when that happens?
Yeah. I mean, I'm by no means an expert on leadership for sure, but I would say something I try to learn from others, and leaders in my life. I try to then, see what that looks like and then model that, obviously one, kind of learn it and then model it myself. Everyone needs a bit different leadership style, I think. So even people I lead or have led in the past, one person might need something that another doesn't, and the other way around. So I think step one is being very aware of who's on your team, how do they operate, how do you get the best out of them, what do they need to be the best, and then creating a bit of a plan around that, because you can't assume everyone's going to need the same thing. That concept of putting a lot of the ownership on them so they own it in a way that's supportive, because it doesn't always have to happen how I would want it to happen. I think that's an aspect of leadership of, yes, I can help direct things, but you need to leave space within an organization or within a team or whatever to let people have their own creativity and ownership and love the project they're developing. I mean, it's the same on the pitch, right? You can say to your midfielders, look, this is your space. Stay within your kind of like area of the field for the most part, but within that area, get creative. Like, this is your thing. You own it, right? So really, I think the aspect of parameters, but once you're within those parameters, go for it. Be the best you can be. I really love it when someone can develop their own thing and own it and do a great job and be proud of it. Because that's what we try to model for the kids too. And that's another big aspect of how we do it. We try to be very open and transparent with how we make decisions and lead the organization, because the kids are watching. They're smart. The community is watching. Everyone's watching. So even down to the fact of how do we find partners? How do you approach a partner? How do you talk to them? How do you communicate? Are you exploiting the fact that we work with this many? Are you focused on the numbers as opposed to focusing on the people? Are you focused on the impact instead of the revenue? People are listening. So how we have those meetings, how we communicate, we try to do it in a way that's kind of teaching just through the process. Because if we're not modeling this, how can I tell someone else to do it? How am I expecting someone else to listen to something that I'm not modeling myself? And at the same time, I mean, I've already said it a few times in this podcast, like, I've made mistakes. There's things we've not done well. Impact measurement, the girls programs, right? Like, these are aspects that we're okay with saying, look, we didn't do a great job at this, and this is how we're going to be better. So I think that's also rare for people to hear their leaders say they messed up, and then that's okay. Like, they're people too, so being okay with realizing I'm not perfect and being open and transparent about, look, we're going to make mistakes and I might do something wrong, but just tell me, let's talk about it and let's work through it together so I can be better for you.
We're human. Hey, let's celebrate being human, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Or what has been the moment you're most proud of?
Wow. There are so many. There was a moment. It's just burned in my memory forever. But during a camp we did a few summers ago in Cameroon, we were running a camp for coaches development, but also through that we were having like a little round robin tournament for some of the kids where they were just having a fun tournament. And off on the side, there was a kind of a newer group that was part of Petrichor. And some of them at the beginning don't have the equipment and kind of support yet of how some of the other groups have after being members for a while. So they were kind of getting, the feel for how we operate, what's going on. And there was this kid over there that, I mean, it's this similar story, unfortunately. There's not good equipment. He didn't even have shoes, right? So we helped provide kind of a lot of stuff for some of these academies as they come in. And one of our staff members was able to just give this kid a pair of shoes and get the right fit. It wasn't like, oh, here's a pair of shoes. It was like, what size are you? What kind do you like? What do you want? What color, And thankfully, we had enough choice at the time. But seeing this happen, seeing our staff member be able to provide something as simple as a pair of shoes to this kid, that was a moment that it seems very simple, but those moments can direct where a life goes. That kid got his first pair of football boots, and the sky's the limit from there. Like the minute he put those on, the smile on his face was just like, I'll never forget it. And it's such a simple thing, but it's moments like that and other moments similar where kids get a snapshot and an experience outside of their regular difficult life where they forget everything else. And the only thing that matters is them on the field, running, kicking a ball, playing with their friends, having fun, and just forgetting everything, right? You're in the moment. And if we can create those moments more and more, that leaves space for kids to dream and, think about what they can be someday. Because it's a bit of an escape from their life, their hard, kind of difficult day to day. So those moments we can be a part of creating stick with me because I see them happen. Some of these kids will just realize, like, they'll look around like, wow, I get to play on this awesome field, new shoes, like coaches are encouraging me, like creating some of these moments seem like a simple thing, but those little snapshots really help direct, I think, where kids decide to go in life. And we're grateful to be a part of it and help create those moments.
Those micro moments are where the magic happens at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I just have a few questions left. First of all,
no worries. I love it. Yeah.
You were at World Football Summit Africa. You're a regular at many in-person events. So what is the value that those in-person events can bring to people who either want to develop their career in the football industry or even they want to develop a project that creates social impact, just like yours?
Yeah, I mean, I've been new to them. I've been to a few online events over COVID and a few before that. But over the past year or two, it's been amazing to be a part of this journey with World Football Summit and some other groups. One, just for myself to step into that next level a bit, and learn. I really try to learn as much as I can and ask specific questions of leaders in this space that I can learn from and grow from. Because I want to build the best thing with what we're doing, right? So I try to learn as much as possible. So for me, it's about learning. So if you can get to some of these events and, you'll see the caliber of people there and the leaders that are there. And one, they're just approachable. Like we said, they're just people, right? So they're just normal people, even though I look up to them a lot, but learn as much as you can. And these are special, like these moments, right? Like there's specific times where this group can get together, and you guys do a great job of it at World Football Summit, where it's a powerful mix of people that can create amazing projects. And I think, so one is just learning, go in with an aspect of like, how can you learn and grow? And two, you have to put yourself out there a bit and be bold, like if you have a vision, if you have a project, if you have, whatever your angle might be, you just got to go for it. And you never know, like someone might be waiting for someone to ask about that project. And they'll never know unless you talk about it. So I think, one, learn as much as you can, but two, just go for it. What do you have to lose, right? Like,
exactly.
Go for it, talk to people, see what's going on. Where can your passion fit and your skill set fit in this industry? Because often there's a spot for it.
First of all, thank you for the kind words around our events. Second, I couldn't agree more. You never know when the first chip of the domino is going to fall. And then from then, who knows? Paul, so are there any last words you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, reach out. I think over our journey as an organization, we've had a lot of help, and we try to be very grateful and thankful for the people that have come alongside of us over the years. And we hate it that it would ever be one way, so we're more than happy to, however we can. I don't know what it might look like, but if we can add value and help encourage or, help someone else on their journey, we want to be just as open as people have been with us. So, whether it's on LinkedIn, our website, social media, reach out however you can. And if we can help in any way, we would absolutely love it. And if anything, we might probably learn something from you. So, I would say for sure, let's collaborate. I think in this space, it's easy to get isolated and be in a silo and do your own thing. But I think we're all better when we work together. So feel free to reach out and let's make something happen.
That's what it's all about, helping each other grow.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you so much for your time today. I've had so much fun in the conversation.
It's great.
I look forward to welcome you back on the show in the future and tell us how you're progressing. It's been so much fun, and I hope the audience really gets as much value as I did. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was an honor to be here and happy to do it. Thanks a lot for what you do.
Bye.
Bye.
And there you have him, Paul Dreisbach, helping us visualize how sport can change the lives of so many around the world. What were the key takeaways for me? First, if you're going to go into an impact project, make sure you're there for the right reason. Be committed. And if not, it will not work. As a leader and entrepreneur, you need an elite athlete mentality to create a long-lasting impact. When things get tough, and they will, your drive and ambition will help you deliver that extra 1%. Third, you cannot control the outcome, but you can control your intentions. Be persistent. And finally, empower your team and let them get creative. You will get surprised by how much they can push the limits of the impossible. Is there anything else that stood out for you? If so, please reach out across social media and let us know. And remember, you can subscribe and rate the podcast on the platform of your choice. And you can also share with other colleagues in the industry. Nothing else from my side. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the World Football Summit podcast. Have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you next time.